Hi, welcome Yukti. Let's do a quick mic check. Are you able to hear me all right?
Yes, yes, all good.
Oh, excellent. So, warm welcome. I'm so pleased to have you on board with us for this conversation. It's been such a pleasure working with you in the last few months over the academy that you've been trying to build, the SPY Academy. And I have so many questions. Before we kind of begin with those, I would like to just quickly let you introduce yourself and the SPY Academy in your own words.
Sure. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity, Kinner. I can't believe I'm going to talk about online platform in a bit. It is something that was way off the radar just till some time back. So SBY Academy is silhouetted by Yukti Academy that offers leadership and etiquette coaching and training solutions. So we do executive coaching for senior management, which is a one-on-one coaching session, which is of course now online as well. And we also do team coaching sessions, which is for the core team, a group of people getting aligned towards value or culture of an organization. And we do various training workshops related to leadership and etiquette. Now I'm proud to say that we've also added another offering to the kitty, and that is online leadership courses. We call it as Upskilling Leadership Blueprint and Upskilling Leadership Challenge. So it's a basic level, the blueprint, and then the advanced level called Challenge, which is designed keeping in mind mid to senior management, corporate executives, and business owners. So that's what we do at SBY.
Excellent. So, if you could tell me about the genesis of the academy. Now, I know you've been a very successful banker. You've also kind of been into the fashion world. If you could just touch upon those aspects and mention a bit more about your foray into the leadership academy or online courses, so to say.
Sure. So, I think we all go through this phase in life, where we feel that most of what we've done is a bit of like scattered dots around in the space and nothing seems to be talking to anything. And then you finally find that one thing which connects the dots together. For me, Silhouette is that one thing which has connected the dots. So I'm a math graduate and then I did MBA in marketing. And as anyone would aspire after a course such as MBA, you want to be a part of a bank, and that's what I ended up doing as well. And it was a great stint until I felt like it wasn't exciting enough. So after spending about a decade and really doing reasonably well, getting promoted every second year, I felt that if even that is not exciting enough, then definitely we need to create a space of our own where we can define what excitement means. And for me, excitement meant being able to add more value without getting defined and limited, within a specific role, which any organization would expect you to do. So as much as I had my own space in terms of picking up whatever projects I wanted in the bank, there was always that limitation of the role within which you had to confine yourself. And that was too much of a confinement beyond a point, and that's when I plunged into entrepreneurship. So during the banking stint, I also, just signed up for a beauty pageant and got lucky and was crowned as Gladrax Mrs. India. It was a beautiful experience. And even before that, I've done some bit of modeling for kicks, as any teenager would love to do. But it was never the first choice in terms of profession, and it never turned into one either, even after winning the crown. But what it did help me with is to understand the contrast that exists between the glamour world and the corporate world, right? And the contrast is not just in terms of where is intellect required more, but just the persona, the personality, the seriousness with which we take ourselves. And I feel that should not be compromised just because you're not part of a glamorous world. And that's my key takeaway from that experience. The fact that we need to instill the same level of self-love and same level of presentation, even in the corporate world, is a must. And interestingly, if I were to honestly dissect my own journey, I think I will have to give a lot of credit to my own executive presence in the bank, which helps you to stand out. And let me highlight that it has nothing to do with the way you look. It is about how good you feel about yourself and how you carry yourself, because that is what shows in your body language and your conduct. And I think that cannot be missed by people around you, and it definitely adds to your success. So that's when I picked up this endeavor to create a platform where I could bridge this gap between people's ability and presentability. And that's how Silhouette took shape.
Fantastic. I mean, great journey. I mean, I've known you for a while, and I'm a big fan of the way you've kind of grown this business and the way you've been on your career path. Now, there is a big concern with everybody who starts on this journey to launch their online academy, which usually is how about the idea? Like, how do I think about the right niche? So, being a banker and being a successful entrepreneur, I know that you could have gotten into a lot many ideas, but you chose to help people become better leaders. Now, what would be your comment or an idea or a suggestion to other people? How could they choose the right idea to start? Like, what could that be?
So it's not an easy question to answer. And if I have to really put this down into a process, which I wish I could read through when I was figuring this out myself, it would have been such a blessing. But now that I figured it out, let me put this out as a process that, others who are listening to this can totally just copy paste. Just go ahead and try this, because this is how I figured it out and I think it works. So I think what I started doing was to really do a very honest SWOT. I know it sounds too exploited. It sounds very theoretical, and everyone knows about it, but not many people really get down to doing a SWOT and putting things down on paper to see what are the skills that I really have, and of those skills, how can I add value to others? What can I do using what I'm good at, which will add value to others? So if you see, the way we define success, it has a lot to do with money. Money is a yardstick that measures our success. Now, some people might consider money to be more than that, but it is definitely that, right? It is a yardstick. It tells you how fast you're growing. And for that to happen, you will need to realize that people will only pay money if they see value in what you add to their lives. So the first question that you need to answer is, am I ready to do a SWOT? Am I ready to put down the strengths that I have, that I know of? And am I ready to ask some tough questions to myself in terms of how is this strength going to add value to other people? Whether it is your knowledge, it is your presentation, it is the way you conduct yourself, your communication, whatever you consider your strength, what can you do to use this and create a product or process or a service that helps others to learn from? So that's the first thing you need to do. And the second thing is to really go out and reach out to people who genuinely care for you, people who are relevant for this discussion, to get an honest feedback on your own self. And I did exactly that. I went out and spoke to 15 people from my inner circle, and I asked them some very straightforward questions about what do they think I stand for. Like, creating your own branding and checking on your personal brand from people who see you, who witness you, who've seen you in action, who've known you for some time. So it's a mix of people. Like, some of them have known me for a very, very long time. Some of them have known me as a friend. Some have known me in my professional setup. So you need to kind of create this mixed bag and then get an honest feedback with a certain set of questions. I can probably share those questions later after this talk, the ones that I picked for myself for the survey. And it really gave me an insight which helped me to zero down on leadership. Because if it were to be left to you, you may want to do something that you love doing. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it is also a need out there from people. And what you're eventually doing in business is serving a need. You're not there to create your own high. It's not a hobby you're pursuing. Unless it is one, then that's fantastic. But if it's not, and you're looking at it as business, then it's important that we do a rain check and understand what people really want before I offer to them what I want to offer. So it was a mix of both. It was the SWOT that I did, the set of questions that I asked in terms of converting those strengths into value for others, and then reaching out to people through those very well-defined, straightforward questions, and then marrying the two. Can I use my strengths to offer the kind of value that people are looking for? And can I re-establish myself in my own mind aligned to how people are perceiving me? So in that survey, what came out was people's perception. And perception is more real than reality. So if I am able to accept that perception and take that in my stride and support that with some more plan and some more structure, then that is an easy way into the market, instead of just totally ignoring it and creating a persona that I want to create and challenging the perception that already exists, unless that perception is going against me. You know what I'm saying? So if it's just one shade of yours, and we all have multiple shades, it's one aspect that shows better to people. Why don't we use that and build our strength on that? So in my case, for example, as much as I want to stand up for etiquette and business etiquette, and I think etiquette is not just the prints and fashion and etc. It is really about your overall behavior and the way you carry and conduct yourself. But in the survey, I got more of leadership as a feedback from people, that all the sessions that I've conducted, or all that they hear me talk about, when I speak of leadership, has maximum impact. And that's when I got convinced that if there has to be an online course that we will start with, it will be on leadership. And doesn't mean that we will not get into business etiquette. We will soon be launching a course on that too. But then that is the first point for us, the starting point for us, knowing that this is how we are perceived, and also this is what people want. So I think it's about marrying both what you can do for people and what people are looking for.
Thank you for that, Yukti. I think we're facing some trouble with the bandwidth here. But if you're able to hear me fine, my next question for you is going to be, when did you decide that this needed to go online? I know that you were. Are
Okay,
you
so
are you able to
when
hear
did
me
I
well?
decide to go online? Is that the question? Yes. Okay. So, honest confession, I think if I have really procrastinated something, it is this thought of going online. I was totally dreading the entire tech piece. And whoever I spoke to about online courses, they always added a lot of numbers together and made it look like, very heavy capital required, capital intensive start. And for all the other priorities which were important for our business, it didn't look like the topmost for me until this crisis hit us. And that's when I really put myself into more detail and more understanding and better understanding of the platform and how it works. Of course, it helped to know Kinner beforehand. I was fortunate enough to be your coach, Kinner, and I think that's where we got started, and we started talking, and you seeded in this thought even deeper into my consciousness. And in this entire crisis situation, I think before it became as bad as now, we were already putting the framework together. And with a platform such as Nourish, I think it just totally helped, because it eased out all the reluctance that I had about the tech piece and not knowing enough of it, because I'm not a techie at all. But how to kind of then create your own content and do it all by yourself without creating a huge team, without putting in lakhs on day zero. These are the things that hold you back. That do I have enough capital to block for an online course? Do I have enough capital to bring in a team? Do I feel ready to have investors? Because maybe that's where capital will come from. And these were some questions I was trying to answer for myself too, until I figured it out myself, to know that you don't need any of this. You don't need too much money. You don't need a big team. All you need is some clarity on what that course structure will look like, what is the value that it can add, what are the components that you want to include in the content. You need to work on your content, because that is that is the base of everything. That is from where the value will be derived. So once you're clear with that, then a platform such as yours, Skinner, I think just makes it very easy to get started.
Thanks for that, Yukti. But I mean, you've been an integral part of our journey. We have now over 2,500 content creators on the platform. But why we decided to do this first with you is because we've seen firsthand the way you've been able to kind of hack the entire process. How you went from zero to a few lakhs within the first 30 days. So the interesting bit here, if you would like to break it down for our viewers now, what is it that is the most important aspect after you've chosen the right idea? So you decided leadership. Somebody else might think to go into, let's say, spiritual coaching. We have people doing video production courses, all kinds of stuff online. So what is it that you believe after the right idea is the most important thing? So you've got the idea. How do you decide the next step, and what is that next step in your let's say in your case, what was the next logical step?
So after we were clear about going ahead with leadership, I think the next obvious step was to create a framework, like the outline of the course. So what is it that we want to introduce as our first course, and still have enough value presented? So I will always keep saying value because it is all about value only and just that. So how can you ensure that the amount of time that you're asking for from people justifies the effort, and by the end of it, what is the value they should take away from the course? So that decides the duration of the course. Is it going to be a 3 day, 10 day, 15 days, or a 1 month or longer? Right? So how much do you want them to learn? What is the format? What is your entire framework? What will your modules look like? So you need to create the outline on paper. That's the first thing you need to do. And then you need to see how much content can be loaded onto these modules, which people will not find anywhere else. So I'm not saying it has to be original to the T, but it has to be weaved together in a way that it creates combined value. You can use other resources that exist. I'm not such a fan of creating everything and reinventing the wheel. There is amazing work people have done. Not to say your platform should be a copy paste of 5 different platforms put together, but create an authentic version of your own understanding and expertise along with the resources that are credible, that exist around. Have the courage and honesty to put those resources out, quote people, give them credit if you have referred to anything, but ensure that if it is needed, you use that resource as well to add more value to your content. But that's the most important thing. Before you even get started to understand the tech piece, you have to put everything on paper and see, if I have to sign up for a course such as this, will I do it? Will I go and sign up for such a course? That's the question. And then you may want to ask a few people around, because it's important that you have some honest friends and well-wishers around who can tell you what things look like, because we get carried away with our passion and we don't always realize that our answers to ourselves are not as honest as we want them to be. So it's important to get a look from an outsider, from a neutral standpoint, and see whether this put together is creating enough value or not. If yes, then that decides your duration, and accordingly you come to a cost, right? So how much should it be priced at is the last thing that you want to look at. So once all this is done, that's when you move towards the tech piece on how it's going to look like. How will you start putting that on the platform? What is pre-recorded? What are going to be the live sessions? What is the bonus or extra support that you want to give to your customers? Who are your target customers? How do you want to approach to them? What is the language you want to use in your content? So, for example, if we are talking to senior management in our course, we take the liberty of using some jargons which we know exist in the industry and it's across industry. But if we were to address, say, entry level, we would be okay to go ahead with a English kind of a format, little Hindi, little English, because we want people to be comfortable. The intent is for them to consume the content. So the delivery will be aligned to what your audience is, what your audience wants, and what is their comfort. So you get the topic clear in your mind, you put the content down, you create a framework, you make sure that you're putting together content that adds value to people. It is loaded, it is powerful, it is not just low hanging 5 YouTube videos, but beyond that, you put your own expertise, your own credibility, right? Don't be an aggregator, because it's very easy for people to see through it. It's very easy. We think that we're the only ones who've seen those 5 videos. Everyone else has as well. And it takes no time to crack that for anyone, right? So you don't want to lose out on your credibility of all the awesome work you've done offline just because you're coming online and you don't know how to get started. So getting people's work together and putting it across is not a quick start. It is absolute no starter, okay? You cannot go ahead and do that and consider it to be an online format. Online format is when you reproduce what you have done offline beautifully, but in a format that can be engaging online. Because you need to realize that people are not with you, they don't feel the energy, they're not in the same room. You can't do a lot of things that you would have otherwise done in an offline scenario. How do you still ensure it is engaging? So that is where the content comes really handy. It becomes very important for you to see, how will you make it engaging? Is it just going to be a lecture? Is it just going to be a written assignment? How will you make sure that people are engaged and involved with you throughout the journey of the course?
Uh, Thank you for that, Yukti. I think you're right. Good content always wins at the end of the day. And you're right about talking to customers. These are classic 101 basic MBA things that we've all learned while we were studying, but we forget when we start getting into these domains and we start with our own business. So thanks for reminding everybody about these. And I think what I would want my team to do post this session is maybe we will create kind of a cheat sheet, maybe a sheet that basically teaches everybody what are the hacks that you are suggesting to make this happen. Another interesting question, what comes to mind that a lot of people ask about is organic versus inorganic. So I know that you still did not tap much into the paid ads, so to say. You've done all of this organically. So how did, after the good course curriculum was built, you had the right idea, the third step, I believe, would logically be to get the word out. So
Yes.
what did you do there? How did you get the word out?
So I think that's where your credibility comes handy, Kinner. You've been in that space, and if you've done some good work, you've earned some goodwill, and with on that goodwill, people will follow you irrespective of the format that you choose to deliver on. Right? So it doesn't happen just suddenly one morning that you wake up and you create something and you have takers for it. And so if you have been able to establish credibility in that space in offline mode also, you know that there are people who will swear by your work. They understand you for who you are and they value what you offer. So what then changes for them is just the format. And there will be people who will support you then to experience this new format. Now, obviously, since you're also getting started, you need to be flexible from your end as well to not price it, equating it with what you would otherwise price at. It is a new platform for you. And at the same time, the entire pricing in the online space is very different from what it is offline. And we need to be aware of that. We need to keep that factor in mind and see how can my course stand out for what it offers and not still have such a steep entry point that people start finding that as a barrier. And the barrier might not be questioning your ability and capability, but just the fact that there are other options. And before I experience what you have to offer, it's very difficult for me to know how unique that will be. So you need to be aware of what are the barriers you might create. Price is one of them, and there are other barriers that you could create, for people to not even get to experiencing what you're offering. So for us, I think we just put it out on LinkedIn, and I announced the course, and we were fortunate enough to have 100 registrations in a week's time for the course in that same week. But before that, I was also doing a few video series, which was some free content that I put up on the LinkedIn. Honestly, that at that time also the source was not on my mind. I didn't do it thinking that this is like a precursor to an online course we will soon launch. Having said that, I don't see any problem in that thought process either. So if somebody is clear about having an online course that you want to launch, it's a great idea to do some talk series before that, create a little buzz around it, do some precursors, get people warmed up to what you can offer. And if you give them something for free, which is a value, then they're ready to pay more, thinking that they will get more from you through a course, which they should as well. So that could be a strategy for organic growth. And I think that's a good way to start before you are all over the place, before you really spend a lot of money. And more than the money, I think it's about having a possibility of falling flat on your face if something goes wrong and you're already spread out too thin. So it's good to take a few baby steps, forward, and take those steps real firm, one at a time. And when you know that you can stand still, grounded, that's when you're ready to start running, right? So those initial few steps of stability is what's really important, and that's when organic growth, looks like a better strategy to me than just spreading out too thin.
So I have a question from Paramjeet Singh. You see that on screen now. So what he's asking is, what is the best way for us to do marketing, which you've addressed to an extent. But now he's asking, how much should we need to invest in social media marketing? I know you're kind of setting your social media spend strategy right now. And what I would like to tell Paramjeet here is that I think what Yukti has done is unbelievably good, because she started the right way, capitalizing on the organic growth that she could tap into. And now I believe when she starts spending on social media, the pressure of getting results is much lower than it would be when you have no results at all. So, what's your comment? You would like to add anything to this, Yukti?
Yeah, I think it should be a function of some percentage you want to decide. So there are going to be some tech expenses because you are getting onto some of the other tech platform, right? There are some content development expenses. If you are going to involve some research, there'll be research expenses as well. So you need to see what is the percentage in marketing that you would want to spend. Having said that, you will have to leverage on the credibility you've already established, and I hope you have. Because without that, even if you spend 50% on marketing, it's no good. People need to know who you are and what great work you've done in the past for them to give you even 500 bucks. Right? There are courses which are offered for free and there aren't too many takers. So it's not just
Yeah.
about money. People are very sensible about spending money and they don't think as much as we think they do. Right? For as long as they see value, they're happy to spend on their own learning and their own growth. But the question here is, how do you plan your own spend and what is your strategy to get started with it? So from marketing perspective, don't start with digital media or and only that. Go ahead with some organic spread, some organic growth, leverage on your existing clients, leverage on your network, whether it's on LinkedIn or Facebook or Insta, wherever you are active, you have followers, you have created a goodwill, leverage on that. Let people know what you're offering. Have very low entry barriers and then slowly allocate 20% to marketing, maybe 25% to marketing. And then once you start earning, you can bring this percentage down because your pool will start expanding as well. And then I think beyond a point, you could probably come down to say 10% and continue spending 10% of what you earn on marketing. So even if you spend like you earn 10 lakhs from your digital space, make sure you still spend a lakh on marketing. So that has to be an ongoing activity. So look at it as a percentage, put all your expenses together, and then decide what that number should be.
Thanks for that. I think the other question we've got is Saurabh. Saurabh's asking how to decide how much should I charge for a course. I personally
Yeah.
believe this could have impact on how do you spend on marketing, because on our platform I've seen courses being sold for 40 rupees, which is less than a dollar each. And I've
Hmm.
seen courses selling for 25,000 rupees, which is about $300. So big disparity there, and that decision could impact a lot of things that you finally end up doing. So, what's your take on this?
So cost is a function of a lot of things. Now, the first thing is what's your target segment and what is their spend? What is their purchasing power? So if you're talking to senior executives, you offer them a course for 500 rupees, they will see no value in it. We had to offer it at 5,000 because if it is anything less than 5,000, they would wonder if it's worth their time. It works both ways, right? So if I give you a Gucci bag and I say this is for 1,000 rupees, you will know it's not original, right? You have a certain value in your mind, a certain price in your mind for a certain brand. So, what is the perception that people have of what you offer? And what is your target segment? What is their purchasing power? What is the price at which they can identify value? And then you see how well can you justify and how confident are you that you are going to provide 10x of that value. So if you are asking them to spend 5,000, you should be very sure that your content is worth 50,000. If you are that confident about what you're offering, then you go ahead and give them 5,000 price on your course. So my simple formula is 10x of what you're asking for should be the value that you will offer, number one. And number two, look at your target segment and understand what they will be comfortable with. Where do they see value? A cup of coffee is available for 5 rupees to 500 rupees. There are people who laugh at those who spend 500 for a cup of coffee, right? But those who do, they understand what value they get from that same cup of coffee. So they are not the same people who will buy the 5 bucks coffee. If you give it to them, they might just get offended. You see, there's a different psyche, it's a different mindset, it's a different personality you're talking to. So where does your TG lie? Do they like 5 rupees, 200 rupees, 250, 500? What is their taste? Where will they find value? And that is the pricing that you should get started with.
Excellent. No, thanks for that answer. I guess it is really helpful for people to think and tackle of this problem early on. Now, I know that you priced your course based on a certain research, your target audience analysis. Is there possibility in the future that you're going to also experiment with another target audience at a totally different price point? Because that's a question that I've faced in the past. So what I'm trying to ask you is that if you're doing a course for, let's say, 2,500 or a 5,000 rupee price point, would you launch ever a course that's 500 rupees, maybe for students in the future? Is that something that could work?
So I strongly believe never say never, right? So it's not in the radar. It's not something I'm planning to do. We are definitely going to launch another level after ULC, which is ULM. That will be spiritual leadership, and it will be a 1 year long course. And our participants are asking for it. In fact, that's a great situation to be in when your participants are saying, "I'm done with the advanced level. Give me more." So we are compelled to put that together faster than we had planned earlier. But we will also do smaller courses. We'll do 3 days and 5 days courses on Zen leadership. That's what's on the drawing board right now. But like I said, never say never. Student, especially, has been a space very close to my heart. And there have been, unfortunately, many such opportunities where I wanted to do more than I could. And, they have their own limitations in terms of how much they can invest. And I've always been wondering how to crack this. And maybe online is the answer because it creates the reach for you, and that takes care of the expenses at your end, and you can make it more reasonable for many more people to sign up. So it'll definitely be something we will consider sometime in future.
So there is another relevant question here, which is to the format. This is a big one, and I have quoted you to a lot of people saying that you mixed the online live perfectly with recorded. What I mean by that is a lot of people think online courses mean come live, do sessions. Every day you should be doing like 3 hours, 4 hours of live sessions, and that's when you are able to create value. Whereas I always say that you have to find the right mix of live and recorded. So what we have here on screen is Sasi, who's asked, what's your experience regarding the right format? What should be the proportion? So how did you decide on that?
Okay, great question again. It's a great question because I think initially it helps to do live sessions. When you're doing those live sessions, it is also giving you little familiarity to the platform, and those sessions itself is then content that you are creating. Having said that, I think once you're done with one round of this, it is important to get yourself out of the picture. See, let's remember that we are in the online space for the reason that we don't want to be in the middle of everything. We don't want that the buck should stop with me as an entrepreneur, as a leader or whatever, owner of my company. I want my company to grow without me. So it should not stop with me. It should not be dependent on my presence and my active involvement for the business to grow. So you need to get yourself out of the equation as soon as you can. Having said that, some live interactions are important because it keeps people engaged, and everyone likes to have a face to look at, someone to talk to, someone to bounce certain thoughts or takeaways with. So the format that I have decided, and it has picked up pretty well, is to give live recordings. So these are all recorded content that we give, along with assignments, written assignments, additional reading material that is very useful. It is HPR and other great stuff that is available around. Not everyone has access to, because these are all paid resources. We give them complimentary as a part of the course. We have also collaborated with other experts that I'm fortunate enough to know, and they've come on board to share their insights. So it's a mix of content delivered in different formats. One is my own recorded sessions, the other is some assignments, some interviews, some reading materials, some other resources, which is credible, which is detailed, insightful. We put all of that together. Along with this, we do weekly live calls as well. So those weekly live sessions are where I show more depth and share more topics related to leadership over and above the content. So this is bonus information and bonus knowledge that they all look forward to. It's also a great time for them to ask questions, share what's happening with them, how their journey is progressing, and so forth. So that's the balance. You start with live to familiarize yourself. While you're doing that, create that as your content, and then slowly start getting into the recorded videos. and still create a window for live sessions. You could do it once a week, once a fortnight, once a month, depending upon what is your offering.
So thanks for that, Yukti. I think that answers it really well. Uh, what have your users' feedback been on the experience they've had through the online sessions? I mean, what did they think? Was it really great to have online, or would they still want you to go back to the offline one?
Hmm. So, what has happened in this entire crisis situation is, a blessing in disguise for trainers and coaches, if I may say, right? And that's because there has been a very serious level of reluctance from the audience or from the participants or our clients initially, because they've seen what energy you can bring to the room when you do things yourself, right? When you're there and you're delivering, and nothing can equate that. As a coach, I also miss being there personally, sitting in front of you and creating the impact that I want to create and adding that value that I want to add. But in the online space, while you will not have that level of intervention, because that energy will always be missing, what is good is you're able to create flexibility in this format. So you're not tied down on the same hours and then making yourself available for that same 1 hour that we want to interact with. You're also not tied down geographically. Right now, we are catering to our clients who have 350 people enrolled with us, and we are going to cover all 350, which are spread across the length and breadth of this country, and we're able to have sessions across creating the same impact. So that's what online does for you. It creates better reach. It allows you to reach out to more people and have the same standard level of delivery and the same level of impact. Comparing it with the offline space is not a fair comparison. It's more of an apple to orange, honestly, because the energy is different. The impact will differ, to be honest. But it's not that an online course will fall flat. It depends upon how much power and energy you add to your course. Are you able to leave them with that high that they would experience if they would have spoken to you otherwise? Right? So till now, we've got only compliments on all the recorded sessions that people have experienced, and they've loved the master classes. We call them as master classes, and that is because of the content and the energy both. So energy is very, very important. People give a lot of emphasis on English for some reason. Okay, I think for everyone, it just stops there. Everything halts down to English. I'm not very confident because I don't speak well. But trust me, people are looking for content and not English. In fact, sometimes English could be a barrier because people who are consuming your content are not so well versed with that language as you imagine them to be, or you want yourself to be. It's a personal high that I should be able to deliver it the way so and so is doing. But that person is that person, and you are who you are. With all that you are, can you still add value with your knowledge using your experience? And if the answer is yes, then trust me, there are enough takers. You need to choose a language that you can articulate well in, and there will be takers for you even there, perhaps
So
more.
you didn't have, so you didn't have anybody coming to you and saying, you know what, I'm waiting for the world to open. We want to come and attend your sessions personally or in a live workshop environment. I mean, there's not been a single comment on that. Online, you believe, is the way forward, and people could learn as well. Is that what your
So,
experience would be?
so my experience has been that this is great that we have an online course, and we've been able to. So we've got a lot of corporate clients, Kinner. Again, this has happened pretty organically. We haven't reached out at all on the marketing piece, which is not such a good thing. We should get on with it now. But people have attended the webinars or have attended the course and then reached out to their organization saying, "We need to have 15 more do this course." And that's how they've enrolled their teams with us for the course for ULB. But they also want other deeper interventions like team coaching, right? Or other deeper interventions like executive coaching, which is a one-on-one coaching. Now that is where people who are in the same city would still want to check with you on your calendar and see if you can deliver them in person. But what I see is with this experience, people have opened up and are more acceptable to online training space, online learning space, a lot more than before. It's been like quite a rapid transformation. So I think to answer your question, people are quite open to it, and it's not this or that, and it's not this until that happens. I think it's going to be this and that.
So, any plans that you've built already to bring in more people once the world opens? And I mean, just apart from having the online bit of it, are you already gearing up to open up and kind of bringing more people on the platform who will also be learning in the offline world as well as on the online platform? So, is there anything on the horizon that you plan?
Absolutely, absolutely, yes. So, like I said, spiritual leadership is a program that's already in the making. We will be launching this real soon. This is going to be a 1 year long program, and that's in the online space. But we are already in touch with our clients. Some of them have also already enrolled for ULB, which is our basic blueprint course. And we are developing certain courses on their demand. So, the entire business etiquette module that I mentioned a while back is an ask. They want us to deliver, and so we're putting this together and we're going to offer a classic example, Kinner, of how we think so much is already available. How will my online course be any different? Why should anybody sign up with me? What information doesn't already exist? But the fact that people are creating an ask such as this and giving us time to develop and come back to them is a testimony of what they perceive you and how they perceive you to be, and how they can assume a certain level of quality of delivery that will come from you and will be better than what they will otherwise get as a low hanging easy access YouTube videos, etc. So if you've been able to do some good work, leverage on that and move yourself to online space very, very quickly. I remember, when we were in the 100x VC together, and I was coaching you through your preparation, and from there, of course, you've like totally taken off, which I'm so proud of. I remember Sanjay then asked me, if you were to invest, which all companies would you invest in? Okay, and do I need to say that Nourish was on top of the list, and so was another company which is into agri-tech. So the point that I'm making is that I'm very clear, and I'm sure many who are listening to this session would also agree that any industry that we look at today or any sector that we look at today has a tech arm already. And if you've not collaborated in that sense, then you're already too late. So whether you look at agriculture, there is an agri-tech, there is an edu-tech, there is a fintech, and that's already there. I mean, you don't have to wait for it to take form or shape. I mean, it's already right in the middle of everything that we do. So what we need to do as service providers, whatever service we provide, is to quickly hop on to the bus and quickly catch the bus and unlearn and relearn to make sure that we stay relevant. So it's no more about creating an edge using tech platforms. It's about your survival. It's about existing and staying relevant in today's time, and not just the time to come, but even in today's time. So we need to marry tech to whatever work that we do and whatever services we provide often. I think that's not a choice; it's imperative.
Oh, thanks for that, and thanks for expressing interest in investing in Norwich. I'll have a few more questions about how somebody could use the platform best, but I take them towards the end maybe. So now I mean, you've so well laid out the plan. Like you started with the idea, then you said the curriculum has to be well researched, targeted to the audience. Then how did you go yourself on LinkedIn and kind of launched it? Was there any importance of design when you build your web page, how important it is, because a lot of people think, like you mentioned, English and Hindi being the medium of conversation in today's world. Design is also considered to be the medium of conversation on the internet. So how did you approach that? I mean, like how much time you should spend and what should be a quick hack to kind of get going?
So I think, I mean, if I could just speak about your platform, Kinner, you have fantastic templates. It makes the job easy. But if you are otherwise exploring, and if you think designing is not your core expertise, you should get someone's view on this, because it is very important to get the design right. And the design has to speak to your audience. And the audience is not what we necessarily imagine them to be, right? Their taste is best understood by experts who understand various design elements. So you might be great at what you do, but it's unfair on you to expect that you should be just that awesome in everything else as well. So it's important that we understand everything as business owners and entrepreneurs, but we don't have to necessarily claim to be an expert in everything, because we are not. Nobody is. So it's best to bring people who are, experts, who understand what designing elements can do to the psyche of your audience, and it does play a huge role. It creates the first impression. And I mean, the business that I am in, I spend a lot of my breath explaining to people why you don't get a second chance to create your first impression. It's true. It's not just a cliche line that people write on, but it is true. You create a first impression through the designs that you choose, the way you present yourself, the way you write your copy. Everything that people see of you before they see the real you has already created an impression on them, and it gets very difficult for you to redo that. There cannot be a contrast between what they see on your site or in your design element and what they see of you. So if you are a simple person, bring in simplicity in your design. If you're going to talk about style and you're going to talk about gravitas, make sure that your website also looks that classy and sophisticated. So it's a mix of what you offer and who you are. What's your own personality? What's the personality of your organization? And that should reflect in the design elements.
Great. So I have a follow-on question to this, which is not exactly designed, but we have seen excellent blogs that you write on your website. You invest time on content, and it's quite rich there. So what's your take on that? I mean, do you suggest everybody should do it? And is the blog does it have to have a focus, or is there any technique that you follow while thinking of the ideas, and how often it should be?
Okay. So my personal view here, Killer, and people might, beg to differ, but I feel that you need to write your own blogs. I think that it's your authentic way of reaching out to people with what you think, and those thoughts should be yours. So if you are writing the blog for me and my views are not even included, then I can't really claim it to be my blog. And if people are connecting with the blog, then they're not really connecting with me because I haven't written it. So I'm not saying that you need to be a great writer, but you need to make sure that the blog being written, whether written by you or by someone else who you think can write better, includes every single thought of yours, your authentic thought process and views on that particular topic. Now, how we plan blogs, I think what I do is I create content buckets. So I make sure that I'm able to touch upon a few aspects of my business and related to leadership, talk to people about different aspects of leadership. And by the end of reading that, if they've spent even 2 minutes on a blog, they should get something out of it. And that something is not always about registering for one of our courses. In fact, it's seldom about that. It's about them learning and taking away something, them experiencing a little shift because of that particular blog of yours. And that is the real success of your blog. So the content bucket that we designed is related to the services that we provide, but it's not with the intent to sell those services. That's not the intent. The intent is to add more value, to open people's mind on what they should look at from leadership perspective. Let it be their own journey to understand and evolve from where they are to where they want to be. And then they could use your course or somebody else's or something else to get to that point. And that's perfectly fine. But if your blog is even able to bring in that sense of direction, I think it's a great success story.
And I think it's important also from the standpoint where you said that you should build some thought leadership. People should kind of get it that
Yes.
what you're talking about. There's a command over the domain that you're going to talk about. So I think it's a very relevant point, and that's what makes your journey special, because I see that we have a checklist where we try and tell everybody who's trying to launch a course. So we tell them, think of the right idea, launch the website with a decent design, go organic in the beginning, then spend on the ads and build the content right, keep a mix of good, solid content, deep content. Then we talk about writing blogs to establish thought leadership. And I could not think of a single thing that you missed out of for how you have executed this. So this kind of makes it really special, and you deserve every bit of it. And I think it's just the beginning. I personally have hopes that yours, SPY Academy, your venture, is going to be kind of one of the largest ones on our platform, and we'll also make sure that we give you all the support to kind of make that happen.
Thank you so much.
Here, Here I have a question from Abhishek, which is on your screen. So he's talking about what's your recommendation for people who are starting out on Nourish? What's the best way to maximize the returns from the platform? Except calling
So
me directly.
yeah, I mean, I think I'm just one of the fortunate ones to have that access, and it's a difficult access to have. So I'm
So
blessed
we've
in
learned
that
so
sense.
much from you. So please don't mention that you. I mean, it's an advantage for you. I think we've learned so much on this journey because you give feedback so candidly, and it's good to be building this together. So yeah,
Thank you.
please
Thank
suggest
you.
how could people
So
benefit.
So I think you know what I look for in collaboration, and we spend a lot of time before collaborating for anything, even if it's a small artwork. And when you're bringing in an outsourced company, for us it's a collaboration because you're going to share your energy, your space with them, your creativity with them, and it's important that you are aligned together as well. What I really love about Nourish, and I'm not speaking of Kinner alone, but the entire team here, is the passion and professionalism. And these are the two traits I really look forward to. I mean, I can't compromise with that because it starts affecting your work. So, as an entrepreneur, I'm sure you are passionate as well, Abhishek. And if you want to collaborate and if you want to be on a platform that will help you to grow, you probably should be seeking passionate people from the other end as well. And also professional. So, which means that the timelines are adhered to, the plans really take shape, whatever we discuss is converted into real action. All that is important. Also, a little bit of hand holding, and that's where passion comes in. So, what I've seen in Nourish is that they will not let you go slow and they will not let you halt. So, if you've taken one step forward, they'll keep encouraging you to keep going with it and keep going with it. And what's good is because they've also dealt with other organizations and other services who are trying to now get onto the platform. Their experience is beyond our own experience. So for me, it's my first portal, but for them, it's not the first client. So it helps to get some best practices from them, which they very openly and candidly share. And I really appreciate that about you and your team, Kiran, that you're always very open about what is working well for others. The fact that you're putting up this talk is another attempt to help people with whatever little that we've learned, right? And that's how you keep sharing these best practices. And that is helping all of us to grow together. So there is no trade secret left anymore, and there shouldn't be one. I think the more we share about what's working for us, the more we all grow. There is just so much to do. So by connecting and collaborating with Nourish, this is what we've gained. Our pace has been much faster than what it would have been because of the best practices shared, the way they are, how professionally they do what they do, and the passion to see you grow. Right. So when somebody else puts in that passion in your growth, you get more passionate about growing yourself.
Thank you so much for that, Yukti. So we understand that you've kind of built this, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to approach you now also to seek your help, not from our end, but I'm sure generally also. What is your feeling about the online education in general? I mean, is it something that you would recommend to people, experts in different domains? Let's say we hear from physics teachers to leadership coaches, dance trainers, yoga trainers, all kinds of people. So, what's your take on that? I mean, should they take this plunge now, or should they wait it out and see if the world returns to normal and then think of it?
I think this should have been done as of yesterday. It's already late if you're not on this platform. And what has worked out really well, again, I will say, is that people have really opened up to the whole idea. There is a lot more acceptance than there ever was. So it's the best time for us to reach out to more and more people. My mission this year is to reach out to 100,000 people meaningfully through our online platform alone. And for me to do that offline will take 10x of the bandwidth that I need to spend online. So it helps me to add more value. It helps me to reach out to more people. It helps me to serve more. And if I have a platform that helps me do that, why wouldn't I consider? And there are people who are now ready to consume things more online than offline, by the way. The entire ordeal of getting yourself out of your comfort to go and learn something requires another level of commitment. Also, it restricts you geographically. And the world is literally shrunk. I mean, the kind of LinkedIn connects that I have established, for example, in the last 1 month, did not happen the entire last 1 year. I have more people from outside India than they ever were, and they have sniffed me out. literally. And now we're connecting and we're talking business. Just yesterday we were, on a call with someone in Dubai and we are collaborating on something. It's just amazing how the entire world has come down to just, the digital space, and how easy it is now for us to connect and do more work and add more value together. So I think if you're not online, you're already late, and you should absolutely look at jumping in ASAP.
Brilliant. And I know that you're getting a lot of takers for your courses from overseas. I understood earlier that you sold in Australia and Dubai and a lot of other geographies. So excellent. I mean, I do see the potential and how you're able to tap it. We'll just take one final question from somebody who's, I'm just flashing it on the screen now. So it is from Rohit, who's saying, how are you conducting webinars or live sessions and merging it with your recorded content or knowledge that you've put there?
Okay. So what Nourish holds for us is all the recorded content. The live sessions that we do get recorded later, and then we upload it on Nourish. Now we are still learning, and the more we learn, the more we explore, the more we learn about what the platform already has. And over and above, if there is anything that we explore and we don't find, like how Kinner said, he's absolutely open for those feedbacks, and they are developing the platform as we speak. So it just makes it easier for us to explore different ways of doing things. As of now, we have live sessions that go on a different platform, and we then direct people onto our website, which is now completely on Nourish. And on Nourish, we then park all the recordings of these sessions. So that's how we're doing it. But I'm sure this will be absolutely passe in a week's time, when Kenneth will develop something new on the platform, and we'll probably find a way to merge this.
No, of course, we already have a lot of features for live streaming kind of running on tests, on the platform being released as we speak. But I understand that you've conducted then sessions through Zoom and Google Meets and integrated that with the Nourish live event format, where you, I think, posted links of those, and when somebody logs in with your recorded content, they could just click and enter the Zoom room, which is worth for other people also that we've come across. So excellent. Yukti, I think, thank you so much. You've taken all of us through the journey. And one of the key exercises that I see now being very important is, I think we want to document this journey. Because these are initial days. I know that when you kind of take off with the ads and you take it to the next level, and I'm sure you're going to double it almost every month or in the next few months. So absolutely, I'm very confident of that. So we would actually come back with maybe a kind of a cheat sheet or a document or a blog with this, and would share with our viewers here as well as other people who come up the platform. I am just going to check if there is any other question that people have asked here. So we addressed most of it through interactive live streaming sessions. So I think those were the most important questions people have. There's one final one where somebody is asked how and what tools are you using. So this question is from somebody named Mr. Harish Sharma. So what he wants to know is, I think this is about what are the technologies, the offline tools that you're using, or maybe when we had that conversation when you're recording your sessions, how and what kind of equipment you're using for that, any special tool technology?
Okay, so nothing very complicated. We use ATR mic. In fact, initially it was just headphones, earphones, and we use an external Logitech camera, which sits on your laptop. So no matter which one you have, you can just have a webcam sitting on your laptop. Logitech 933 works really well. That's the one that we use, and ATR is the mic that we use. That's about it. So initially we were using Zoom for recording, but now with this camera, I think it gives us much better quality. And we're recording that on the laptop. That's when we upload it on YouTube and create those links on the Nourish platform directly. So don't get too bogged down with the whole tech piece and the whole setup. You can keep upgrading your setup as you start making money. Look at online as a separate book. That would be my suggestion. Offline is going to come back into life. Of course it will. And that should be a parallel line. It should be a parallel, P&L for you. When you are establishing online, don't put all eggs in one basket. See if you can create a separate P&L, fund the initiative as a project initially. Give it some time to break even if that's what it looks like for you. If the initial capital is too high, but don't mix the two, because you're going to try this out and this might take some time. We've been lucky enough to get a very good start, but each one to their journey, and that doesn't really mean that if you start slow, you will not pick up. So my only request here would be for you to get started. Whether it's a lakh a month or 2 lakhs a month or 10 lakhs a month, let that happen when it has to happen. But don't delay the start because you're not clear about how you will make a lakh a month when you launch. Launching is really important. Getting on with it is really important. I think it helps to get off the rat race and to really bring in new initiatives with its own purpose in mind. So when you have the purpose and you're clear about it, it'll be a fascinating journey no matter what. So I just wish you luck with that, and I hope you don't delay this decision any further.
Thank you so much, Yukti. This has been fantastic. I really appreciate you taking out the time on a Saturday, and thank you so much. There's so much to learn. I am hoping that we'll connect back with you again very soon to learn about your journey 2.0, because now you enter into bigger revenues, more learners from around the world. So all the best for that, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, Kinner. And thank you all for your patient listening. Thank you. See you.
Thanks. Bye.
See you. Bye.